Yesterday, Sayadaw explained that by noting the object that arises due to its relevant cause, by being mindful by way of Satipatthana practice, with effort and sustained mindfulness, when the noting mind falls onto the object, by noting with aim and effort, the noting will be effective and one will come to know the true nature of the object that has been noted. Even if the noting mind does not fall on the true nature of the object, if the noting mind falls on sandhana panyati, form or shape concept, or akara panyati, manner concept, it is quite good. At the moment when the noting mind falls on either of the form or shape concept or the manner concept, viriya, sati and samadhi, effort, mindfulness and concentration is arising at that moment. And the defilement, priyuttana kilesa, obsessive defilement, that can arise by lack of viriya, sati, samadhi, will have no chance to arise when the mind falls on form or shape concept or the manner concept. It is quite good. At that moment, samadhi sikha, concentration training, is present. And yesterday, Sayadaw explained the characteristics, function, manifestation of viriya, sati and samadhi, effort, mindfulness and concentration. When discerning the sabhava lakkhana, the characteristics of the object, at that moment, priyuttana kilesa, obsessive defilements, have no chance to arise. Anupada, the obsessive defilement, has no chance to arise, and it is the benefit, one gains the benefit of removing obsessive defilement. And pahana, one has the benefit of abandoning the obsessive defilement. And one is also developing wholesome mind. So one gains the benefit of developing wholesome mind as a result. And the developed mind will become stronger and stronger as the yogi practices continuously. If the yogi is not mindful of the object that is arising, kilesa, defilement, will enter the mind, and yogi will not get the benefit of removing, abandoning the defilement. The defilement will arise by leaps and bounds in great momentum. When the yogi notes the object with sustained mindfulness, papa akusala dhamma, inferior unwholesomeness, has no chance to arise. In this way, one gains the benefit of removing, abandoning the unwholesomeness, and one gains the benefit of developing wholesomeness, and the wholesome mind will be developed so that it will become stronger and stronger. With viriya, effort, in the practice, one gains the benefit of removing the defilement. In each of the nama, rupa, mentality and materiality, Each of them has their own sabhava lakkhana, unique characteristics. Among the Rupa materiality, the most prominent ones are the Bhuta, the four great essential elements, namely Paṭhavi, Tejo, Apo, and Vayo, the earth element, temperature element, water element, and the wind element, air element. So in the body, there is full of Paṭhavi, earth element. If you feel the bone, you can feel the hardness. If you feel the skin, you can feel the softness. Hardness, softness is the nature of Paṭhavi Dhatu, earth element. Apo Dhatu, water element, manifests when there is sweating or when there are tears or when there is stickiness. And also, Apo Dhatu manifests as cohesion, congealing, heaviness. These are the nature of Apo Dhatu: fluidity, stickiness, cohesion, congealing, heaviness. Tejo Dhatu, the temperature element, has the nature of warmth, heat, cold, lightness. So warmth, heat, cold, lightness are the nature of Tejo Dhatu, the temperature element. Vayo Dhatu has the nature of stiffness, tension, movement, relaxation. And these are the nature. And the nature of the mind is that it inclines on objects. The nature of phassa, contact, is that the sense door, at the sense door, the object and the mind come into contact at the sixth sense door. So coming into contact is the nature of phassa. And also the feeling, when coming across good feeling, when coming across good objects, there will be pleasant feeling. Coming across unpleasant objects, there will be unpleasant feeling. So Vedana has the nature of feeling. So in this way, each and every Nama Rupa has its own unique characteristics. Among the Rupa materiality, Paṭhavi, Tejo, Apo, and Vayo, the four great essential elements, are most prominent. Among these four great elements, Vayo Dhatu, the air element, is most prominent. The air element that manifests as stiffness, tension, movement is most prominent among the Rupa materiality. In the Nama mentality, the most obvious are the consciousness, the contact and the feeling are the most obvious. In the rising and falling of the abdomen, the nature such as stiffness, tension, movement are present. The stiffness, tension, movement are the nature of air elements which are tangible. Stiffness, tension, movement which are tangible when they strike kaya pasada, body sensitivity. Being mindful of it, yogi discerns stiffness, tension, and movement. and yogi develop knowledge. Coming into contact with unpleasant objects, there will be unpleasant feeling. Coming into contact with coming into contact with bad objects, unpleasant objects, there will be unpleasant feeling. So all these natures are called sabhava. Bhavati opposite bhavo. Bhavo means things that are arising, that are existing. Sako bhavo, sabhavo. Each of the nama rupa has its own unique individual characteristic. They have their own unique individual nature. Prithvi dhatu, earth element, has the nature of hardness, softness. And also the mentality, nama, also has its own unique individual characteristics, such as phassa has the nature of feeling. So these are called sabhava. They have their own unique nature or the characteristics. They are also called sa-rasa. In the word sa-rasa, rasa is the thing that could be relished. In food, there are flavors of sweetness, sourness, spicy, pungent, salty, and bitter. So in food, there are some kind of food that are sweet, some kind of food are sour, some kind of food has a combination of sweet and sour flavor, some has bitter flavor, and so on. In the same way, each and every nama rupa has its own unique nature that are compared to the flavor of the food. So in the practice, yogis should be noting every bodily activity whenever they arise, so that one comes to know the sabhava or sarasa, one comes to know the nature of the object. Even though each and every nama rupa has its own nature and characteristics, because these natures are concealed or being hidden by form or shape and the manner, that's why the nature is not obvious, as the form or shape and the manner are hiding the nature of the object. By noting the object continuously, precisely, meticulously, thoroughly, yogi can discern the true nature. But if the yogi is noting the object superficially, yogi will not know the nature. The example is given. In meals there are pieces of food. So when taking meals, the person picks up the food with a fork and put it into the mouth. If the person does not chew at all, swallow without chewing, the person will not know the flavor. Even if the person chews once or twice, chewing once or twice, the person will not know the taste. So in order to know the taste, in order to know the flavor, the person should chew properly. The more the person chews, the more the person will know the flavor of the food. In the same way, when noting the object that arises, one should note the object, aiming and directing the noting mind onto the object, putting effort so that the noting mind reaches the object, so that yogi will come to know the true nature. By noting with aim and effort, sati, mindfulness, and samadhi, concentration will develop, and yogi will discern the true nature of the object. Just as the person has to chew the food properly in order to know the flavor of the food, in the same way, yogi has to note the object properly with aim and effort, so that yogi will discern the true nature of the object. Noting the object properly, yogi discerns the true nature, such as warmth, heat, cold, stiffness, tension, relaxation, fluidity, and so on, which are tangible. So these natures which are tangible will be discerned by noting the object properly, aiming the noting mind onto it, putting effort so that the noting mind reaches the object. So when the noting mind falls onto the object, calm and collected, samadhi, concentration develops, and yogi discerns the true nature of the object. When the striker element strikes at the receptor element, there will be ignition, consciousness, contact, and feeling. Seeing consciousness, seeing contact, and seeing feeling, hearing consciousness, hearing contact, and hearing feeling will arise. In the beginning of the practice, when the yogi is not skilled yet, yogi is not able to note all the seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, or the touching. In the beginning of the practice, yogi has to start noting few objects that are very obvious. For example, in sitting meditation, yogi should breathe normally. In sitting, rising and falling of the abdomen is most obvious. In the abdomen, there are kaya pasada, body sensitivity. So when the striker, stiffness, strikes on the body sensitivity, one will know it as rising. When stiffness, tension strikes on the body sensitivity in the abdomen, yogi will know it as rising. At times there is pleasant feeling, at times there is unpleasant feeling. So yogi should notice just as rising, falling. Yathapagadam Vipassana Biniveso. In the practice of Vipassana, one has to be mindful of the object that is most obvious. So among all the other objects, the touch is most obvious. So yogi has to start noting with few objects that is simple and easy. And in the sitting meditation, one has to start with the primary object of rising and falling of the abdomen. The example is given here. When a child goes to kindergarten to learn, the child in the kindergarten grade has to start the lesson that is few and simple. Even though the lessons may be few, but if it is difficult, the child cannot cope with the lesson. So just as the child has to start learning lessons that are few and simple, in the same way, yogi has to start the practice noting few and simple objects such as rising and falling of the abdomen during the sitting meditation. In order to develop viriya, sati and samadhi, effort, mindfulness and concentration, in noting the object, yogi should notice with the mental labeling as rising, falling, and when there is seeing, yogi should notice with the mental label seeing. When there is hearing, yogi should notice with the mental label hearing. So in this way, yogi has to note the object with the mental label such as rising, falling, seeing, hearing, and so on. When the child starts to learn reading, the child has to read aloud the alphabet A, B, C. And after learning the alphabet, the child has to start reading simple words such as C-A-T, cat, and so on. So the child has to spell it out loud in order to read the simple words. And as the child has learned simple words, he or she starts to learn short sentences and then go on to longer sentences and then to paragraphs, one page, and so on. So in the beginning of the lesson, the child has to spell out the alphabet in order to read the words. But as the child becomes skillful in reading, he or she can just read it by just mere scanning the sentence, reading it mentally without having to read it out loud. In the same way, when yogi starts the practice, yogi has to start noting few and simple objects. And in noting these objects, yogi has to note with the mental labeling, rising, falling, lifting, moving, placing. So in order to note the object, yogi has to initiate the effort. Yogi should step up the effort. Yogi should aim and direct the noting mind onto the object so that sati, mindfulness, will develop. And also samadhi, concentration, will develop when the mind falls calm, collected, unified on the object. So yogi has to note the object with aim and effort. And as the yogi becomes skillful in the practice, the noting mind automatically becomes direct or face-to-face with the object. And viriya, sati and samadhi, effort, mindfulness and concentration become strengthened, and yogi discerns the true nature of the object. In order to note the object such as rising and falling of the abdomen, yogi noting mind should be direct or face-to-face with the object. In order that the noting mind should be concurrent with the object, yogi should note with aim and effort. Noting rising of the abdomen with aim and effort, when the noting is concurrent, when the noting mind falls calm and collected on the rising of the abdomen, yogi discerns stiffness, tension, and movement. Noting the object with effort, there will be sustained mindfulness, sati, concentration, samadhi. Having viriya, sati and samadhi, effort, mindfulness and concentration, which are called samadhi sikha, concentration group, yogi dispels priyuthana kilesa, obsessive defilement. When the noting mind falls calm and collected on the object, knowing the true nature of the object, yogi removes anusaya kilesa, latent, dormant defilement, momentarily by Vipassana practice. So the example is given here. When a person is sick, the patient has to take a full course of medication. So each dose of the medication will weaken or suppress the illness. And finally, when the full dosage, the full course of medication is completed, the patient is cured from the illness. In the same way, practicing Vipassana meditation, when the noting mind falls calm and collected on the object, discerning the true nature of the object, yogi is removing anusaya kilesa, latent, dormant defilements, momentarily. Noting rising and falling of the abdomen, yogi discerns stiffness, tension, discerning the nature of rising. And also, whenever the yogi thinks back about rising, yogi comes to know the stiffness, tension. Discerning correctly the true nature of stiffness, tension, when noting rising of the abdomen, knowing correctly as stiffness and tension, there will not be any attachment, or there will not be any anger or hatred. In this way, by knowing the true nature, stiffness, tension, when noting rising of the abdomen, yogi will not have greed or hatred or aversion. In this way, yogi is removing the defilement by knowing the nature correctly, by noting rising and falling. When noting the object, aiming, directing the mind onto the object, there is samma sankappa, right application. Discerning stiffness and tension, there is samma diṭṭhi, right knowledge. So samma sankappa and samma diṭṭhi, there is paññā sikkha, the wisdom training. Having effort, sati and samadhi, effort, mindfulness and concentration, there is samadhi sikkha, concentration group. Samma sankappa and samma diṭṭhi make up paññā sikkha, wisdom group. In the practice, there are no wrongdoings to be refrained from, but one has the cetana, volition, to refrain from wrongdoing, and thus there will be cetana sila. Having viriya, sati and samadhi, the samadhi sikkha, the concentration training is present. And with cetana sila, there will be sila sikkha, morality training. The mind, the noting mind being directed on the object, there is samma sankappa. Discerning the stiffness, tension, there is samma diṭṭhi, and thus there will be paññā sikkha, the wisdom training. So in this way, in the moment of practice, there is sila sikkha, samma kammanda, right action, samma vāyama. At the moment of noting, there is sila sikkha, the morality training, samma vāca, samma kammanda, samma ājiva, right speech, right action and right livelihood. And together with the Samadhi Sikha and Panya Sikha, all these three Sikha, all the three trainings, Sila, Samadhi and Panya, are present. With the Sila Sikha, morality training, one removes Vitekama Kilesa, transgressive defilement. With the Samadhi Sikha, concentration training, the Priyuttana Kilesa, obsessive defilement, have no chance to arise. And with Panya Sikha, wisdom training, one is weakening latent, dormant defilement. So in each of the noting, the 8 factors of the path are present. 3 factors of Sila, morality, 3 factors of Samadhi, concentration, and 2 factors of Panya, wisdom. So the 8 noble paths, 8 factors of the path make up 3 groups, 3 trainings, Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. So these 3 trainings are called Sasana, the Buddha's teaching. In each and every noting, if the yogi is noting effectively, concurrently, discerning the true nature, each of the noting consists of the 8 factors of the path. So it is very precious. Each and every noting is very precious, as the Vitekama Kilesa, transgressive defilements, are removed. Priyuttana Kilesa, obsessive defilements, are removed. And by discerning correctly, Anusaya Kilesa, latent, dormant defilements, are removed momentarily. By having Viriya, Sati and Samadhi, effort, mindfulness and concentration, one is removing the defilements that should be removed, and one is developing the wholesome mental state that should be developed. So in order to remove the defilements, in order to develop wholesomeness, Viriya, effort, is very important. One should have 3 stages of Viriya: Arambha Dhatu, initial effort; Nikama Dhatu, step up effort; and Parakama Dhatu, effort stage by stage until one finally reaches one's goal. The 3 stages of effort are called yoga. And the person who possesses these 3 stages of effort are called yogi, the person who is endowed with effort. In noting the object without missing, without feeling, with sustained mindfulness, the mind being calm and collected on the object, yoga, effort, is asserted. And yoga is possessed by the person. So in the text it is explained as Bhavanaya Yutta Payuttasaya Yogi, meaning yogi is a person who is endowed with effort in developing the wholesome mind. To be a yogi, one should assert initial effort, step up effort, effort stage by stage until one finally reaches one's goal. So as a yogi, one has to be noting the presently arising object every single second. Each of the notings are very precious. Even if the yogi has not developed knowledge yet, when the mind falls calm and collected on the object, there will be viriya, sati and samadhi, effort, mindfulness and concentration, and thus the defilements are removed at the moment the yogi is mindful. Yogi should not be gazing or dozing. Yogi should do every activity slowly and mindfully. If the yogi is not practicing respectfully, not noting, sitting, standing, bending, stretching, turning, if the yogi is noting these actions respectfully, or if the yogi is stopping in between, then yogi is failing to develop Sila, Samadhi and Panya. If the yogi is stopping in between, resting between, not practicing continuously, looking here and there, not moving mindfully, then yogi is failing to develop the mental state that should be developed. And Jaraji says, may you all be able to practice like a true yogi with diligent effort, noting every object continuously. And this will be all for today. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.